Is Governor J.B. Pritzker running for president? Is he running for governor again to secure a third term? There's an interesting kind of couple of years here we're going to have, and we'll be watching it all with Illinois in Focus Daily. Good morning. I'm Greg Bishop. Thanks for being with us. And if you wake up with us live, you can join the chat room. But if you can't, you can get the podcast where you get podcasts. Just search Illinois in Focus. So really, Governor J.B. Pritzker has been asked if he's running for president for years. I think it really started heating up when he ran for re-election in 2022. And everyone was thinking, is he gearing up to run for president in 2024 when he got reelected in 2022 to a second term? The questions continued on. Then you had the tumult of the Biden presidency essentially ending with his announcement last year that he wasn't going to run for a second term. And then the speculation was, well, if Vice President Kamala Harris is going to be the presidential nominee, who's going to be the vice presidential nominee? And Governor Pritzker's name was in the mix. And he even acknowledged that he had talks with the Harris campaign. So there were questions if Governor Pritzker, who's a billionaire and could bring that money to the political game as he has in Illinois, and as he's done elsewhere throughout the country with various political action committees and such. I think he's the Big Ideas Political Action Committee. So a lot of eyes are on whether or not Governor Pritzker is going to run for president in 2028. But before we get there, is he going to run for governor for a third term in 2026? So you got to think, in the years ahead, we're going to have actually in the months ahead, because the 2026 election, believe it or not, started after the 2024 election ended. You already have a Republican who's thrown their name in the ring. We'll touch on that in a moment. But Governor Pritzker is very much somebody who continues to be asked by members of the media as to if he's going to run for president in 2028. But again, before that, you got to get through a 2026 election if he wants to get a third term as governor. Here's the governor from last week with the Illinois Education Association.
I'm not sure. I think you're asking me if I'm running for re-election, and I have not made a decision or an announcement about that. As you know, I promise you will be among the very first to know. Along with, yeah, exactly. I didn't want to leave you out or you out. And I'll just say, look, whatever it is that I'm doing a year from now, or whatever announcements get made over the next bunch of months, I will be in this fight. I will be in this fight. I have always been, as you know, an active, participant in issues that matter to me. And the Trump presidency is attacking virtually everything that I believe in. So whether I'm in office or I'm not in office, what office I am serving in, I will always be in this fight.
If you're reading the tea leaves, that's a little different of an answer than you've had in the past.
Then what?
It sounds like you might not be running for re-election.
I'm flattered to be considered that you would even mention that I'm, whether I'm running for re-election or that I'm running for some other office. But I think I've always said that I love the job. I still love the job. It's become harder. But frankly, taking on this challenge is meaningful. And so I'm in it now. I mean, whether I'm making an announcement about anything else is a different question, but I'm in this fight now. And I relish the idea that we collectively, and you heard it in this room, we can win. We can win. We just have to work together to get this message out across the country.
Right, thanks, everybody. Just one more question.
Again, that's the governor last week being asked if he's running for governor or running for president, and he wouldn't really say. We'll find out more in the months ahead as to the trajectory the governor may take here. But others have already tossed their name in the ring, at least one, a Republican, Sheriff James Mendrick from DuPage County. And here's his campaign website. Sheriff Mendrick for governor. A lifelong Illinois resident, James Mendrick has dedicated his career to public safety and service with over 30 years in law enforcement. He's risen through the ranks to become sheriff of DuPage County, leading with innovation and common sense. So you can find out more. He says why he's running. He's pioneered rehabilitation programs and not only reduce crime, but also give individuals a second chance. His leadership is focused on strengthening communities while standing firm against policies that weaken law enforcement and put public safety at risk. You can read more about this, right? But obviously, things are going to start catching fire here soon when it comes to all the speculation, and even some have speculated that you could see a run from others who are in the state legislature. This was a little bit of a speech that was given by State Representative Blaine Wilhour last week in a debate back and forth about education and equity and excellence and which should be focused on, which should be priority. Should we focus on making sure kids can read and do math, or should we focus on money going to schools that don't have good outcomes? So here's just a little snippet of Republican State Representative Blaine Wilhour critical of Democrats for not standing up at crucial times in our recent history. And let's hear it from Wilhour.
Have a little bit more respect for you and those folks over there if, during this whole quote-unquote pandemic where our tyrannical governor was shutting down every school, if you guys would have stepped up and done your job and done the right thing for kids then, but you didn't do it. You didn't do it because you're afraid of our tyrannical governor, and you're afraid of the special interest groups that were punishing our kids and depriving them of a normal childhood, increasing suicide rates. Our education system is in shambles because of it.
So you had Wilhour make that point of personal privilege last week. It's just one in a string of personal privileges that he's made speeches on the House floor in recent weeks where he's really hammered on Democrats and saying that they're not doing anything good for the states. And while Democrats stand up and criticize Trump about, prospects of tariffs increasing consumer costs or, tearing down the Department of Education and possibly withholding funds from special education programs, Wilhour's gotten up and talked about, what are you guys doing? Your focus is on the wrong place. You've destroyed the state. So why don't we focus on lowering taxes in Illinois and growing the state? So interesting to hear some of these speeches that Wilhour's made. So it made me think, at least, is Wilhour looking to run for governor in 2026? And I asked him if he has any ambitions to run for governor in 2026. And he said, listen, this is a text exchange on record. I asked on record, what's your ambition for 2026? Do you look for running for governor? He said, listen, I don't know what I'm doing in 2026, but I do know this. He said, I'll be in the fight for working families because they have been failed by the political class from both parties. What I know for sure is J.B. Pritzker doesn't care about Illinoisans. He's focused on his make-believe presidential campaign. What we need is a candidate who will fight for working families, has the courage to fix this state, and won't cave to the woke mob. So that's what I got back from State Representative Blaine Wilhour when asking if he had ambitions to run for governor in 2026. We're just starting this. It's going to get pretty interesting in the months ahead, especially when we start seeing who's filing what kinds of campaign committees are starting up, and the like. So we could have a pretty crowded Republican field. We could possibly see some independents pop out. Are there going to be any Democrats that challenge Pritzker? We'll be watching that. It's right here with Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning here, and get the podcast where you get podcasts. All right, short show for this St. Patrick's Day. Tomorrow, we're going to delve deep into a ton of legislation that could be flying out of committees at the Illinois State House, as Friday's the deadline to get bills out of committee. So there's just going to be a flurry of activity. We'll talk about homeschooling. We'll talk about firearms legislation. We'll talk about taxing policy. We'll talk about animals. All kinds of bills about animals. Like, for instance, one bill says you can't pull a cow's tail. So how far is all of this going to go? We'll be watching, and we'll get a clearer idea of the types of policies that legislators are looking to advance before the end of session. So join us tomorrow morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. Get the headlines in your inbox each and every weekday morning. Go to thecentersquare.com. Get that newsletter. Register for it. It's free. And you could just pop your email open every morning and see some of the top headlines, not just from Illinois, but also from Washington, D.C., so you could stay plugged in and up to date. But don't forget, you could join us here on YouTube each and every weekday morning for Illinois in Focus Daily. Shout out to those in the chat room. Wow. Like seeing those concurrent viewers up, guys. That's awesome. But yeah, I mean, Tom, good morning. David, Doobie Lou, James, Duckman, Randall, Christopher, Kevin, Richard, Jack, Dave DeHunter, John, Morris, Brian, Chris Krugenhaus, Doobie Lou, Bob Sneed, Andrew, Festus. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. You guys appreciate your interactions. Patriots from Warsaw. You've got others in the mix. Lori. Yeah, you guys, it humbles me. It really does as to the support you guys have for this program, for what I do every day. But do go and get that newsletter. Also, feel free to make a contribution to the Center Square. We're a nonprofit newswire service, and it's driven by your generosity. So get over to thecentersquare.com. Help us out there. Get the newsletter. Wake up with the podcasts. Wake up with the live show. And let's keep going and watching what happens with your tax dollars. Have a great Monday. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll see you back here tomorrow morning.